All right. Well, hello again to all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching. John and Ellie of Georgia Beer Reviews back at you this evening with, that's right, it's not an illusion. It's Michael Kormeroff, the Stout King, and he is back with me this evening. Welcome, Michael.
Hello, John. It's good to be back.
Glad to have you back. The Beach Club has officially ended for the season, huh?
It's all over.
All right. Well, let's get right down to business. We are doing a Imperial Stout comparison examination. We've got two different Imperial Stouts each, and we're going to drink them, review them, compare them against one another, and just kind of have a general discussion in the process and catch up and hang out a little bit. We've got Drunken One in the chat. We've got Bumpy in the chat. Cheers to you guys. If you can find two Imperial Stouts and you want to hop on, feel free. If not, that's fine. You can just hang out with us in the chat. Okay, so Michael, I will let you tell everybody what you've got first.
Okay, the first one I'm going to open is from Flying Dog Cream Team. It's their cookies and cream flavored milk stout at 9.5% ABV. And I've had it several times before. It's done well in straight comparisons when I've had my group together. So this is, as we said earlier, tougher competition, but we'll see how it ends up faring in the group. And let me pour it for you, and we'll see what it looks like in the glass.
All right.
I'm using a 16-ounce glass, so I don't want to overfill it, but I'm trying to get at least a little bit of a head for everybody to see what it looks like. They're going to get it all into the glass. It's a 12-ounce bottle from Flying Dog of Frederick, Maryland.
Okay.
Well, the head, I would say, is kind of like a dark tan color. And I don't know if you can tell in this light, but there is a lot of bubble stream action going on through the middle of the glass. Can you see it?
It just looks pretty much straight black. I can't really see the bubble.
Okay, well, I'm describing the bubble stream. There is a bubble stream in this. And an interesting fact about this beer, not that it stopped me from buying, I bought like a case of it, 24 bottles, but the co-op looked at the date that it said optimal freshness, which was 6/26/22. And they don't look at a 9.5% beer any differently than any other. Once it reaches the date, they'll mark stuff like this down. And when I see that it's 9.5%, I know that it'll hold up much longer than just late June.
Right.
We're going into late September, so we're 3 months past. I had some last week. It's fine. I mean, I have another one now, but I still think I have 7 left. So I should be in good shape to have it the rest of the year, maybe even further. We'll see. Maybe I'll hold on to one and age it.
There you go.
You never know.
I think that would.
That's fine. Do you want to pour yours?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we'll both pour our first one, then we'll go back, talk about it a little bit, and then we'll pour the second one. So for my first one, I am going to be opening up this Pirate Weekend from Prairie Artisan Ales. They're out of Oklahoma. Let's see. McAllister, Oklahoma. So the Pirate Weekend, it is a stout aged in rum barrels, and it has coconut, cacao nibs, and marshmallow added. So that sounds really good. I do love coconut, so I feel like this is going to be right up my alley. 14.4% alcohol. I think I said I was going to do the other one first, but I grabbed this one, so we're going with it.
It does not matter.
And mine are within 1% of each other, so it shouldn't make much of a difference. That is a thick, black, almost motor oil-like pour. I probably should have poured it a little bit more aggressively because there's really no head that formed. Yep, jet black, cannot see through it at all. I will say that as soon as I poured it, I smelled the rum barrel. Very, very rum forward. The rum barrel is definitely the first thing that you pick up on. But I would say your appearance beats my appearance because it had a nice head, which there's still a little film. Mine, as you can see, looks pretty flat. It had like a soda-like head that immediately dissipated. There's nothing left.
In these higher ABV beers, though, the head will tend to get smaller like this, and you end up with a little slim thing at the top. But the carbonation right now in this is still really shooting up strong. So I wouldn't say it's heavily carbonated, but there's enough carbonation in here to support what's ever in it. So I mean,
right. Yeah, I don't see.
You can't see through it either. It's definitely if you pick it up to the light, you can't see through it. So it's a dark brown color, and like I said, the head has gone down a little bit, but you're still getting a nice rim head, and I can do the nose on it for you.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, I'll let you go give the nose and your first tasting impressions, and then I'll do mine.
Okay, so you're getting some chocolate and some vanilla and kind of an interesting overall sweetness to it as well. And I guess the chocolate is stronger than the vanilla in the nose. But there's sweetness, and I can't say from the smell that I'm getting cookies and cream, because I guess the sweetness could be the cookies that you're getting from the smell, but you can't, from this point, you can't tell what it is. All right, let's give it a taste.
Cheers, Michael.
Cheers. I think the thing that's really nice about this, when I first bought this, I thought it was going to be cloyingly sweet. I was really afraid that it was going to be, sometimes when you get these beers, they're too sweet.
Yeah, and cookies and cream too. It sounds like it's going to be
They've done a really good job with whatever kind of hops they use in this and the malts that they're using to really balance this well, because there is sweetness in the first taste, but it's more of a refined sweetness. In other words, you can tell that it's an easy drinking beer, but the sweetness isn't in your face. And you're getting the chocolate in the taste as well. You're getting the cookies in the taste too. The alcohol is very well masked. This could just as easily be a session beer as far as that goes. It goes down really, so you'd have to be careful with this one.
Does it have a creamy mouthfeel from the cream element, or
it has a creamy mouthfeel, and I would say the mouthfeel is on the lower end of medium. So it's a little bit more, it's not light, it's the next stage, it's medium, but it hasn't reached the middle of medium. It's more like just a little bit above medium. So this is not a heavy beer, it's a milk stout. So it's more somewhere in the middle. But like I'm saying, they've done a really nice job of controlling the sweetness and combination with whatever hops they've put into it. So it's very drinkable. And you're getting the cookies, and it is creamy, but it's not, it's not creamy. Sometimes you'll have like lactose added in these beers. I don't think this one has lactose in it. But
if it says milk stout though on the label, typically it
has lactose in it.
Okay.
It says ale brewed with chocolate, lactose, and natural flavor. So there is lactose. There's creaminess in it for sure.
Right.
Goes down pretty nice. What it says on the side, and I may as well read it so people who are watching can know how Flying Dog is trying to sell this. Tiptoe to the fridge, avoid the creaky floorboard, slowly open the fridge, wait a minute, you're a goddamn adult and can have cookies anytime you want. Inspired by the best dessert combo ever created, cookies and cream flavored stout was born from the love of that last swig of milk after you drop 2, 3, 4, 5 cookies in it. So drink up, calories don't count after midnight.
All right.
So this for somebody who is into dessert stouts, you might find this not sweet enough. People who say I'm looking for a dessert stout that's really super sweet, this is not super sweet. There's some sweetness, but it's well tempered, and I'm somewhere in the middle. I like some sweet stouts too, but this one is very good. Somebody
like Alex, the beer master, who's in the chat here, he may not find it sweet enough because I know he likes his sweet dessert
Yeah,
stout.
he likes the dessert stouts a lot. But I think he might still like this because I think he likes some of the creamier stouts too. So he might like this too. Goes down really well, and the alcohol is well maintained because you really, if somebody gave this to you without the bottle to see, you might think it was 6%.
Right.
Kind of thing. And
Nice.
I'm enjoying it. Do you want to do your first one?
Yeah, let me go ahead and get into this Pirate Weekend 14-4. Appearance hasn't changed. It went flat almost immediately, so looks the same. So once again, this beer it's aged in rum barrels with coconut, cacao nibs, and marshmallow. So the aroma right off the bat, like I said earlier, getting that sweet, like molasses, maple syrupy type aroma that you get with like a good spiced rum. Definitely sweet. There's almost a little bit of like a cinnamon aroma, and there's no cinnamon added to this. I think that's just from the way that it was aged in the barrels. Kind of comes across almost as a cinnamon aroma. I'm not getting anything that would indicate marshmallow. Nothing really screams marshmallow with this. And you know what? Maybe the cinnamon aroma that I'm getting is actually a little bit of that coconut. It doesn't smell very coconut forward, but I'm hoping that it has more coconut on the palate because when I see coconut on the label, I'm chomping at the bit to get into it, and I'm hoping for a lot of coconut because that is one of my favorite flavor combinations. Anytime I have a nice high ABV barrel aged stout, I'm looking for coconut if I can find it. So that's pretty much all I'm getting with the aroma. So not a lot of marshmallow or coconut on the nose, but a nice rum barrel presence and a little bit of like a sweet cinnamon note. Then, of course, you're getting the roasted malt as well, which I haven't mentioned yet. The dark toasted bread and a little bit of chocolate as well. They do add cacao nibs, but I think, well, I'm probably getting a little bit from the cacao nibs, but I think some of it also is coming from the roasted malt because it's very, very roasty on the nose. It smells good. It doesn't really smell super boozy other than you can smell that sweet rum aroma, but it doesn't smell like a high alcohol product. So let's go ahead and try it out. Cheers.
Cheers, John. Hope it's good.
Wow. It's good. Dark roasted malt, dark toasted bread notes right up front. The rum barrel sweetness is coming through. Cinnamon. I'm tasting cinnamon, a lot of cinnamon, but I think it's the coconut. I think it's just the way that it's interacting with the rum barrel, like that spiced rum effect with the coconut and the chocolate and everything that's going on. It creates a cinnamon flavor. At least that's how my palate is interpreting it. But I don't taste anything. I mean, if you blindfolded me and you didn't tell me what it was and I didn't know there was coconut in it, I would say no coconut, cinnamon. The body with this is a little heavier than than your beer. It is thick. It's got a little bit of a viscosity to it. I mean, it just kind of looks a little thick, or it looked thick when I poured it, and it is as black as night. I mean, I'm holding it up to the light here. I can't even see like a little brown from the light going through it, like nothing. It is jet black.
What about the alcohol level?
It definitely doesn't drink like a 14-4, but it's higher alcohol. It's not really boozy, but I think the rum barrel aging, that it's higher ABV if you've been, if you're used to drinking these types of beers, you're going to, that it's a little higher alcohol, mostly because when you swallow it down, it has that warming effect. I mean, it is really warming going down. But it doesn't drink boozy. The alcohol doesn't come through. It's very pleasant and easy drinking. And by the way, it does say on the bottle, this was bottled on November 10th, 2021. So this one is not far from being a year old. I am really enjoying this. My only complaint really is that I'm not really tasting distinct coconut, but I know that it's in there because of the way that it's interacting with the other flavors to create that cinnamon type note. The body with this, like I said, is heavy. The carbonation, though, is really low. It's not flat, but when you get these really high ABV, thicker stouts that have these additives like coconut and marshmallow and cacao nibs, a lot of times the carbonation is lost, especially considering that this is aged in the barrel. So that probably caused some carbonation loss as well. That's another thing I haven't mentioned yet. The marshmallow. I'm not getting anything that resembles marshmallow on the palate at all. So that's kind of it's not really a bummer for me because the flavor that I am getting is absolutely incredible. But if you're going into this drinking experience expecting marshmallow, you're going to be a little disappointed because there's absolutely none of that. At least with the coconut, I can recognize that it's in there because of the other stuff going on and the way that it blends with the rum barrel aging. But very nice beer, not very boozy, pretty easy drinking for 14.4. This is definitely a winner. It was the one thing that I don't really care for with Prairie is they think very highly of their beers. This is like a $13 bottle. It's a 12-ounce bottle. So you're looking at like Bourbon County prices and you get less beer because the Bourbon County I can get for $12 and that's a 16.9 ounce.
Right.
So, it's good to try, but I wouldn't buy a 4-pack of it because you're looking at over $40 for a 4-pack of this stuff, and I don't know. One is definitely worth one, but I don't know if you don't have a budget and you want to have an awesome beer, you could splurge for the 4-pack, but I don't know. I guess to each his own on that. But yeah, awesome beer. I'll come back around. But we've got another beer to open, so we'll keep sipping on these. We'll open the new one. We'll give our tasting impressions of that, and then we'll go back and forth and compare the two and pick a winner and give ratings at the end. So I'm going to let you go ahead and tell us what your second beer is that you brought. Let me really quick. I'm sorry. Let's go to the chat. Bumpy and Josh is in the chat. He says the Bourbon Paradise was my favorite. Oh, so I think he's talking about Prairie. They make a Bourbon Paradise Stout. Oh, and then he says, never mind. It was another one. Okay. All right. Thanks to everybody in the chat. We appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. Okay. So sorry, Michael, go ahead with your second.
Okay. So
beer.
my second one is from Founders, and this one is barrel aged, and it's their KBS Maple Mackinac Fudge, which was a 2020 release, and this one was brewed on 10/14/20, which means it's just short of 2 years in the bottle, which I think will have some effect on it because it has been sitting there, and we will see. I've had this once before, Imperial Stout with Mackinac Fudge coffee, maple syrup, and chocolate aged in oak bourbon barrels. So
very nice.
I think it did very well among the group, and I think there were get-togethers of this beer that people did. I'm pouring it in a bigger pot in a bigger glass, and I was going to say the head is darker than the first one, but not vastly darker. Maybe it's not tan, maybe it's mahogany. I don't know. What do you think of it? Can you tell the color difference?
It looks almost beige, maybe like
a little
beige
bit, a little bit darker than the other one. And wow. See, one thing I have to say, when you are dealing with barrel aged stuff, the difference in the note, the first one that I had, it had a smell, but the intensity of the smell on this is it's intense. And there's more sweetness in this, which I assume is the maple syrup.
Right.
But the chocolate is really strong also. Wow. Founders has always been, I still think I like Bourbon County better, but Founders does make a really good barrel aged product too.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's see what else. Getting the bourbon barrels too in this, and the oak. There's something about barrel aging that gets me giddy. I don't know what the story.
Yeah,
It's like.
same here.
It's just, no, there's a difference. I'm not saying putting down. I'm not putting down a 9.5% milk stout. This beer is fine. It's just that when you up it to 11, and in this case, put it in the hands of a brewer that's had good experience making other barrel aged products. Remember, it was CBS and KBS. Then they eliminated the CBS, and since I think they've had 4 or 5 different varieties in that series. They're due to have another one, I would assume, but they haven't done anything recently. But
I think the hazelnut was the latest.
that was the last. Did you get a chance to try that?
I did. Yeah.
How was it? Did you like it?
Really liked it, but if I had to put it up against the maple mackinac fudge, the fudge one would win hands down.
I didn't get to try the hazelnut.
And I tried the other one. They had that other one, the cinnamon vanilla cacao one as well.
I got to try that with Doug, and we weren't thrilled with that one.
Right. That was probably my least favorite of the newer.
But I still think that one still did in the mid 90s, though. It wasn't like it was poor. It just wasn't top, A+, thing. Well, early with this, from the nose, it's excellent.
All right.
Do you want me to give my full description?
I'll go ahead and pour mine too.
Pour yours first.
I think that's how we did it. So I'm gonna go with this one as my second beer. Also another Prairie beer. This is the barrel aged Moose Boots, 13.4. So a lightweight compared to the first one, whole percentage less. So this one is barrel aged. It just says barrel aged. It doesn't say whiskey. It doesn't say rum. I'm assuming it's a whiskey barrel aged with maple syrup, toasted almonds, and vanilla. So that sounds really good. Be interesting to see how the toasted almonds come through, if at all.
One plus in the fact that you've chosen 2 beers from the same brewery, you may be able to see some similarities since they're barrel aged, which is a good thing.
So appearance-wise, it looks just like the other one, flat, and it does have, you can see like little carbonation bubbles like jumping off the top of the glass. Like when you pour a Coke in a glass, you get that real fizzy jumping out of the glass carbonation. This actually has that, but the head is nowhere to be found. It died immediately. But there you go. The appearances are identical.
Yeah.
And yeah, it smells like a bourbon barrel aged beer. A little bit more rich on the aroma, I think, than the other one.
So I'm putting similar look to both yours.
Similar look, yeah. So you get the whiskey barrel coming through. I'm getting chocolate. I'm getting vanilla. There is almost a little bit of a nutty aroma. I wouldn't be able to tell you specifically almond, but it does have like that toasted walnut or toasted almond or pecan, that nutty toasted nut aroma. So let's see. Yeah, and it does smell sweet, so that's probably the maple syrup, but it doesn't smell like maple syrup. It smells like there could be maple syrup in it, but it's not over the top, which is good because sometimes a little bit of maple syrup goes a long way in a beer, and you don't want it to be cloyingly sweet. So it smells nicely balanced. It smells good. It smells a little boozier than the Pirate Weekend, and it's 1% less. So I wonder if that's from the type of barrel that they put it in, the whiskey versus the rum barrel. But it smells good. Let's go ahead. I'll pull you back up.
Okay, I did not mention before the first beer I did from Flying Dog was 20 IBUs, 20.
Oh, okay.
So it's not an action bitterness in it. There's no bitterness at all. It's more sweetness than bitterness. But I guess some of the hops that are there temper the sweetness, maybe, whatever small amount. Okay, so I guess I'm prepared to give it a shot. I've mentioned the nose, but I will again. You're getting the sweetness from the maple. You're getting the oak and the barrel. You're getting chocolate. And the barrel-aged nose is intoxicating. I mean, it's really, it's wonderful. All right, I'm ready for the first sip. Cheers.
All right. Cheers, Michael.
if it's possible, the taste is better than the nose. And it's interesting because all the flavors are coming together. This is really well balanced. And I think the main thing I liked about this the first time, the sweetness is again tempered. It's not cloying at all. And you're getting the maple, but the maple is tempered by the combination of the fudge and the other stuff that's going on with it. You cannot taste the 11% either.
Right on, like initial thoughts, can you immediately tell a difference? Like, did something pop in your head that was immediately noticeably different than the first time you had it? Like the aging, has it affected it?
It seems to be, if this is possible, it seems that some of those initial flavors when I had it pretty new are more nuanced now. They're not at the beginning. They were more in your face, and now they're there, but they're not as intense as they were the first time I tried it. But that in this case is not turning out to be a bad thing, because I actually think, and if this is possible, that it's actually better balanced now than it was when I first tried it. Like the flavors are more spread out. You're getting all the flavors. You're getting the bourbon. You're getting the chocolate. You're getting the maple syrup. You're getting, I'm trying to think what else they said here, maple syrup. And you get, now you know what you're not getting too much? The coffee, which they're mentioning. You're not getting that. So the coffee has faded. That's a difference. When I first did it, you could taste the coffee. You can't taste it anymore. That's faded. But I'll tell you the truth. I don't love coffee in these anyway. So for me, this is perfect.
I'm with you. That was one thing I noticed. I had a 2015 KBS, Shane Fudge, when I went to go hang out with him in Tennessee. He sent me home with a 2015 KBS, and I think it was 5.5 years old when I drank it. And the coffee had completely faded, and the bourbon notes came through. It drank more like a Bourbon County, and it actually elevated and improved the overall score. So that's interesting that just almost 2 years, and the coffee has really, sounds like it's really mellowed out.
Now, there are people who drink these stouts because they like the coffee. So what I would tell them is drink it fresh if you want the coffee, because this is less than 2 years and it's already faded. So you're not getting the coffee. But when you're keeping in mind that you are getting the oak and the barrel and the fudge and the maple syrup and all the other flavors together, and it's not tasting high alcohol.
Right.
This tastes stronger than, all right, so this is 11. The other one is 9.5. So it is 1.5 points higher. But this is drinking more like about 8. So in other words, this one is closer to the ABV than the other one. I think the Flying Dog was able to cover the taste better. And maybe what that is I can actually taste the bourbon. So the bourbon makes it seem boozy.
Right.
I wouldn't call this boozy because it's not, but it's boozier than the other one. But the other one's not barrel aged. So it's, there's a difference in the formulation.
Right.
This is one of the better beers I've ever had. So this is gonna be at the top end for sure. Just after this, I'd have to just, I don't want to, nitpick, but the highest I've ever rated in history is 99. I've never had, as Shane says, a hundy. I've never done it. I've never done it. So 99 is, but this is certainly sitting on the edge of being like almost a perfect beer.
Right. Okay. That hundy will be waiting for you at the pearly gates when you.
I guess so. It'll come at some point. You never know. When you talk to people who do give hundreds sometimes, I think sometimes they are sorry because then after they have it, they find something that's better. And unless you're like Alex was at the beginning when he first started drinking beer, where he was giving hundreds on a regular basis. I think he's calmed down now. But at the beginning, when he did give a lot of hundreds, and then he realized that every beer can't be 100 because there has to be some difference in the beers. But look, everybody's got their own system, and this is excellent.
Nice.
I don't know I doubt you could find this on the shelf anywhere, but people like Shane Fudge might have some socked away, and other people might have saved them up. Or maybe they'll end up, reestablishing these and sending them out again and selling them again. Who knows?
I feel like, it may be one of those things backed by popular demand because of all of the KBS variants that have come out. I feel like the one that got the most hype and the most positive feedback was the maple mackinac fudge. The cinnamon vanilla cacao was good, but it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't anything much better than the standard KBS. And then the hazelnut one is good, but I mean, I feel like the maple mackinac fudge is like just a notch above both of those. And as far as other variants, they're supposed to be coming out with like a chili variant, is what I heard.
That would be interesting. I've had some
infused with chili pepper, but I don't know what the release date on that is. I think it's this year, because I mean, we're getting into the fall and you know, the cooler months, so maybe that's something that they're going to release in October.
Do you remember, John, when you and I did the Evil Twin biscotti break, and one of us had the original and the other one had the one with the chili peppers?
I think I had the chili and you had the original.
I had the straight one. That was 11.5% too. So that was another high alcohol one. And you and I also do like Evil Twin too. They're another company that has some excellent beers.
Some excellent stuff. Yeah.
Are you ready to hit us with your?
I am ready for the Moose Boots. Cleanse my palate with some Poland Spring water out of Maine. All right. So let's see. The barrel-aged Moose Boots. We already talked about the appearance. I'll just recap the aroma briefly. Barrel-aged bliss right up front. Some nice bourbon. I mean, it doesn't specify. It just says barrel-aged, but it's definitely not rum. It's may not be bourbon, but it's definitely some type of whiskey. I feel like it's bourbon, though. Oh, man. So the vanilla, the maple syrup is coming through. It's got that sweet aroma. And I don't know what else that would be coming from. Of course, you're getting the roasted malt, bready notes in there. And there is that little bit of a nuttiness on the nose, which is promising. I'm thinking that's going to translate well to the palate, because a lot of times when you get these toasted nuts of whatever variety in these beers, these heavy hitting darker beers, it just doesn't come through. I've had a lot of nut brown ales that you can pick up on the nuttiness, but there's something about, I think it's just the heaviness and the richness of a stout that a lot of times that gets lost. So hopefully it'll come through. Let's see how it tastes. Cheers.
Cheers, John.
It is coming through. That toasted almond is coming through big time. It's almost like almond extract. That's nice. The barrel aging is coming through, but it's not as... It's interesting. The rum barrel aged Pirate Weekend smelled a little less boozy, but it had more barrel on the palate. This one has a little bit more roasted malt, the almond, the vanilla, the maple syrup's coming through a little bit. And then, I mean, the barrel is definitely there, but based off of the aroma, I thought it was going to be a lot more like in your face. And it's nicely balanced, that's for sure. I'm really impressed with the nuttiness of this, because I did not think that it was going to be that nutty. A lot of times like I've had beers with pistachio nuts and, you know, almonds, pecans, and a lot of times, unless there's natural or artificial flavor added to bump up the nutty taste, it just doesn't live up to the, you know, what you're expecting with a nutty beer. But this one really does. What else to say about this beer?
Is the carbonation similar to the first one?
The carbonation is similar, very, very low. The body is similar. It's really high medium. I mean, if you said this was heavy bodied, I wouldn't argue with you, but I've definitely had thicker, more viscous, syrupy beers. This has maple syrup in it, but it's not syrupy in the sense that it's thick and sticking to the insides of my cheeks and all of that. So that's a plus.
What about the alcohol level?
It's actually less boozy going down than the other one. The Moose Boots, as you swallow it down, it's not really warming. The Pirate Weekend was very warming going down. So you knew you were drinking a high ABV beer. This one, This one goes down easier because it does not have that alcohol burn at all. You could just chug that down like a
So
dessert.
the toasted almonds and the nutty is tempering the alcohol somewhat, or a combination of whatever they've done.
Yeah, and the vanilla and maple syrup, really, that sweet component that you get from that just makes it very smooth, and it distracts a little bit from the barrel. A lot less barrel presence with this than with the Pirate Weekend. But
what I was going to ask you to do, can you
Mhm.
take a sip of both against each other? In other words, now
I can. Now we're at that point, I guess.
I was going to say,
Let's see.
Because you gave me the rating and now, or the feel, and now back to back.
Oh man, going back to this one, I definitely think I prefer. I mean, I like them both a lot, but this one is sweeter. That cinnamon, coconutty, with the rum barrel, molassesy type note. All right, so now that's one.
Now let's check out the Moose Boots and see how the comparison is head to head.
So they're a lot different. This one's sweeter, more candy-like. This one is more nutty and robust and roasty. I think the combination of the dark roasted malt with the toasted almond really just gives this one a whole nother layer of richness and thickness to the mouthfeel. This one sweeter, more barrel notes. This one less barrel notes, more bready, more toasty, roasty, robust. But both excellent, but very different. And I'm going to go turn on my AC here real quick.
Okay.
There we go. Starting to sweat.
I kicked around the idea of opening a Bourbon County tonight, and the reason I think I decided not to do it is this one's been sitting longer than my Bourbon Counties, because all I have left now is 2020 and 2021. So even the 2020s came out late that year. So those really haven't sat around that long. So I figured to have a 2-year-old one of the founders was a chance to see what happened. And at least with the coffee, it has done something good for me. Now, I get there are other people who like coffee who might not be happy about that.
Okay. So Josh actually says he had a barrel-aged Moose Boots, and it was infected. He did it on Tanner's show, and it was well within the date. I didn't mention the date on this one. So this one was bottled on November 3rd, 2021. So once again, we're looking at almost a year.
When you're paying that premium price for Prairie ales and you find an infected bottle, that has to get you upset. Because if you think about it, it can happen to any barrel-aged beer, obviously. Look what happened to the Bourbon County in 2015 when they had all those dates with ones. I told you that I got to keep them, and I got money back from Goose Island, which was certainly nice. But you would have probably liked them because even if they had that little effect, the sourness in there was actually positive. So
right, I was going to say, so you return the empty bottles, and
no, you have to return anything. You just had to give them the receipt.
Oh, just give them the receipt. Okay, so you drank them all.
And there were about 6 of them, so I actually did pretty well. And some of them had no effect. Some had a little souring, but you've had this kind of stuff with little mild souring in it. That might not be so disturbing. I didn't find it to be bad. It wasn't sour like you were going to get sick from it. It just wasn't the exact taste. And give them credit, even though now they pasteurize it to make sure that can't happen. So that up until then they came in the other kind of bottles. Remember the shorter bottles? They still were 16.9 ounces, but they didn't have the new tops like they have now.
Right.
And I can remember waiting on that line at other half, and there was this guy we met, Oscar, on the line, and he was complaining because he said, I bought all this beer, I spent all this money, and they hadn't paid him back yet. He had submitted the stuff. I said, don't worry, I already got my check back. You're going to get it. It's just a matter of time and whatever. So they made good on the beer. So you can't complain when something goes wrong and the company stands behind it. You have to be happy. But even ones which might have been mildly affected, I didn't think were bad. So I think I did okay.
Oh, Josh, you're confusing the hell out of me. He keeps switching back. So it wasn't the Moose Boots. It was the bourbon aged the weekend. Is that from Prairie as well, John? That's a Prairie beer you're talking about? Josh is like gone back and forth like 5 times. I don't know what you're talking about anymore, Josh. You lost me.
The co-op does sell Prairie beers, but I've always thought they were really pricey. I mean, like what you described, I consider pricey.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that, I haven't seen these ones you're doing either. They seem to they do make IPAs too. And it seems like
it's funny. I've actually never seen an IPA from them. All the Prairie stuff that I've seen has either been stouts or sours. I get some of their sours. Or actually, I say that down in Georgia, I saw a lot of their sours. Up here, I've only ever seen stouts from them. So I've never seen a Prairie IPA. I would definitely jump on the opportunity to try a Prairie IPA, but I just haven't seen one. And we get all the good, juicy IPAs up here. So an IPA from Oklahoma, I just feel like if it's $12 or $13 like these Imperial stouts are, I don't know if it would be worth it, considering I get world-class IPAs up here where I live now.
Have you ever seen they make something called Prairie Bomb, which I think was one of their original when they first started? That's a stout when they first started doing their stouts.
Okay.
One of their, I'm looking at on what's it called? I'm on what's it called? I'm on this site here, and I know what it is. Anyway, I'm looking up different Prairie stuff. They have something called Phasmagoria. That's a double IPA.
Oh, whoa.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen that one at the co-op, but they do have some IPAs too. Maybe I should try it. I mean, like you say, you only live once. If you have to overspend one time, it's not going to put you in any kind of situation where you can't afford it, kind of thing. All 4 of the beers we've had have all been really good.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that my Flying Dog is going to do the worst, but
you haven't. So I did the direct taste, one after the other to see. It sounds like there's an obvious winner with yours, the barrel age, because you add that extra depth of flavor with the barrel aging. But you want to do like a side by side?
I'll do the same thing, but let me have some water first to clear my.
All right.
I have a feeling that the barrel age one is going to be. Which one should I try first?
Oh goodness. Maybe the 9.5, the non-barrel age, because I feel like if you do a sip of the barrel age one first, then the cookies and cream ones just
won't have any chance. Okay.
Right.
Okay. There's the Flying Dog. Okay, the problem that the Flying Dog has against this, it's almost like what you're saying is this is the father and this is the son. That the Flying Dog is fine, but it's a Imperial milk stout. This is a barrel aged beer that has lots of interesting flavors going on. So it's much tastier and much better and whatever, and it's going to score much higher. See, I don't want to unfairly score this, but the way my system works, I do score it against the other things I'm drinking. So it might suffer a little bit.
Right.
And not do as well. It's probably going to finish 4th in numbers because yours sound like they're reasonably close together. I don't know. You have to decide final numbers and whatever.
Mine is not an indication of like they're both excellent quality barrel aged stouts. For me, it's going to come down to personal preference with the additives. With the coconut and the vanilla versus the toasted almond and the vanilla. So, right. But they're very comparable. They're very close, and they're both very, very enjoyable. Honestly, they may start. I mean, if you look at the appearance, they look like the same beer. They could very well start with the same base, and then age one in rum, age one in whiskey, and then put the other ingredients in. So it may actually be the same base stout, and then they just doctor them up in different ways.
There's a good chance that's true.
Especially that since they're from the same brewery, yeah.
I was also thinking by us doing one like this that we're doing over a longer period of time, you might get some of the ones as the taste goes on. You might get some additional taste as it warms up too. Because I can already tell in my barrel age one more taste coming out than it did before.
Right. And mine
Only
were,
been
were
open 20
chilled
years.
very briefly. So both of mine now are at room temperature. So I feel like they have whatever development they were going to have has already occurred. I don't think that they're going to continue to develop because they are currently right around room temperature. So
Mine might still be a little bit cooler than room temperature, but it's getting to room temperature now. The fudge part of mine is a added plus. That has been the same as when it was original, when I had that first one. The fudge, that chocolatey taste is very nice in this. The bourbon taste is very nice too.
yeah.
Do you remember this one exactly or not so much when you had the Mac?
Oh, absolutely. I bought 2 or 3 4-packs of it.
Okay, so you had some good experiences with
because when I found out that they were coming out with a new one and the Mackinac Fudge was going to be discontinued, there was a place in Peachtree City that had a couple 4-packs left, so I bought them both because I knew it was probably going to be the last time that I might see it for a while, if ever. So, and I aged a couple. I know I sent you one. And I just drank the last one probably. It was after I moved up here. It was one of the ones that I actually had one left, and I brought it up to Massachusetts. So, yeah, the one I drank was probably like a year and 3 months or a year and 4 months old.
Okay, because it's definitely a quality product and one of the better beers. I think it's definitely better than the straight KBS also, which I know there are some people who are really old purists on and they think it's amazing and stuff. I always like the CBS better than the KBS.
The KBS for me, if you drink it fresh, it's a great beer. But the KBS for me is better as it ages because being that I'm not a huge coffee person, it allows the other flavor. When you age it for a few years, the coffee kind of fades, much like what you've been describing with the 2-year age Maple Mackinac, but it allows the other flavors. The bourbon notes come through a little bit more, which us, both of us being bourbon barrel-aged stout lovers, that's a major plus.
Right. And I do like coffee to drink it. So don't get me wrong on the coffee.
Right. I don't hate coffee, but coffee is a very strong flavor. And when you add coffee to a stout, a lot of times, I would say more times than not in my personal experience, it overpowers the beer and you don't get the full plethora, the full range of flavors that you should get.
Right. Audrey, by the way, does not like coffee in any of the stouts either. So when we have had some where it's come through, she doesn't like it. She likes the chocolate and the sweetness better than the coffee. But the coffee is gone from this. I mean, it really, I think that's in this case a good thing. But you might get some people who like coffee who, buy the Founders KBS line looking for the coffee. Drink it fresh. I don't know how long it lasted, though. Could have lasted for 6 months. It could have lasted for a year. It's hard to tell when it actually faded. But short of 2, it's gone.
Yeah, I would say for the standard KBS, if you're drinking it over a year old, the coffee's definitely going to be faded. So definitely drink it within a year. Otherwise, you may be disappointed because, that coffee really – it's amazing how the coffee fades and the barrel, the bourbon comes through more. And I think it's just because the coffee is so strong that as it starts to go away, you just – not that the bourbon notes are coming through more, like getting stronger. You just notice them more because the coffee's not there as a buffer. Cheers to Eric. He just popped by in the chat. I thought Eric was
he's going on his tour, I think.
He's going on tour. I guess it's this weekend. He's going on tour.
And he's going to be in Delaware and Maryland. And
there we go, right there. New York and New Jersey tomorrow, on his way to Wilmington, Delaware for the first 3 gigs with his band.
Good luck with that, Eric.
Awesome, Eric.
It's great.
All right.
Musicians in the group of beer drinkers.
That's right. So let's see. I guess, do we want to go through, we'll go through and rate each one individually, and then based off of that, it should be pretty obvious which one is going to be the winner.
Before we do that, John, I have a question for you. when you decide, obviously we both said we like barrel aging better, but when you decide on just, let's say, some of these straight ones that are not barrel aged, do you think you hold against them the fact that they're not barrel aged when you rate them, or can you be fair?
That's a very good question. So if I was doing what we're doing right now and I had a barrel aged and a non-barrel aged, more than likely the non-barrel aged would really take a hit because it's I'm drinking it right next to a beer that I'm going to like a lot more, because I'll take a barrel aged stout over a regular stout 10 times out of 10. But if I'm doing like an individual review, I do feel like I can be fair to the style, because it's not barrel aged. You're not going to get as much complexity, depth of flavor. But like, I feel like I would rate that cookies and cream stout that you're drinking from Flying Dog. I feel like I would probably give that as a standalone review. I would probably give it like a 97 or a 98, because it's a borderline world-class stout, imperial stout with great added flavor. But yeah, when you're putting it up against barrel-aged stuff, it just doesn't stand a chance.
It's almost like it's overshadowed kind of thing.
Right.
And
yeah.
there's really not much you could.
It's really almost a different style. Like bourbon barrel-aged or barrel-aged stouts should be in a class of their own. We shouldn't really even be putting them up against standard stouts, because we both know that the barrel-aged stuff is going to have more complexity. It's going to have more flavor, typically higher alcohol as well. So there's a lot of differences between a standard imperial and a bourbon barrel-aged imperial.
And in the ones that I did during the summer with this cream team in it, it was against more double IPAs, more Oktoberfest now are starting to come out. Pumpkin ales are coming out now too. So it had a variety of different beers. And we have not been doing too many dark beers during the summer. I would say we didn't do any, but
right.
they were the exception, not the rule.
So interesting. Eric in the chat actually brought this up. This is a good point. So the BJCP, the official, right, beer class, the rating guidelines. So they actually determined that the barrel-aged stuff is in a separate category. It's in the wood-aged category, and then you have the standard stout category. So that's a good point, Eric.
Well, I'm happy that I did one barrel-aged one. I guess I didn't expect you to do two, but that's always.
I was going all out, man. This is really the first live stream I've done since the last Stout Sunday I did, which was probably 6 weeks ago. Jay's been rocking the Stout Sunday. I've been really busy on weekends with Caitlin and kids and
ball games and
all kinds of stuff. So Jay's been doing the Stout Sunday primarily. I may be able to do it this week. I know you said you were planning on joining this weekend. So
except John, somebody's died since I have a funeral now, so I can't do it.
Oh goodness, I'm sorry.
But fortunately, it was somebody that we expected to go, so it wasn't as bad.
It wasn't.
Somebody surprises you. She was in her 90s. It's my aunt.
Oh,
and
okay.
She has been in bad shape for a while, so it's just a matter of time.
Right.
But I'll be on my way to the funeral when you're doing Stout Sunday. But I'll be thinking about you, and I'll try to watch the playback.
Okay. Well, hopefully I'll be able to host this weekend. There's going to be a point very soon where I'll have like 4 or 5 weeks where I can do it consistently. But it's just so difficult. Of course, when we started doing Stout Sunday, I was living in Georgia and single and had absolutely nothing going on Sunday morning. Now things are a little different.
Your life has gotten more intense.
So Sunday mornings at 10:30 aren't really the best time for me to do these things anymore. But I'll still try to do what I can.
Okay, are you ready to? Do you want me to rate?
Yeah, go ahead and
do this now.
I guess you started with the cream team, so why don't you go ahead and give your final thoughts and rating on that first? Because we both know it's going to be lower than the other one, and then give us your final thoughts on the barrel aged or the Founders. Jeez.
So the biggest positive about the Flying Dog is that it's so easily drinkable and doesn't taste anything like 9.5%. So it's, like I said, a dangerous beer because it's really well masked. But obviously, it's not barrel aged, so it's just a regular beer, and it's a milk stout, so the consistency and the mouthfeel is a lot less than the other one. And this is what it looks like in the glass now. What I have left, and still has a little bit of a head. It's maintained that very thin, whatever. And the carbonation is still there as well. I'm going to give it a 95. So
Okay.
it's still a solid A. And I mean, you can't pick on it because its opponent was what it was in the direct comparison. It's not fair. So it's still a solid A. And I would recommend, if you see, now again, I don't know if this is a regular beer. It says seasonal release. So I don't know how often they would release this, if you'll see it again or not. You could see Flying Dog somewhere where you are, because it's in Maryland, you're in Massachusetts. It's not impossible that you can get Dogfish Head beers, which is Delaware and Maryland are next to each other. So,
but I got Dogfish Head. I mean, they're nationwide. I got them in Georgia too.
And
so.
Not only are they nationwide, they're now owned by Sam Adams, which is right on your doorstep.
So they're probably international.
They probably have better distribution now in Massachusetts area than they did before. So it's a solid 95 and highly recommended. Okay.
All right.
So now I have to make my decision on the Bourbon County. I have it down to 2 possible numbers.
Not the Bourbon County, the Founders Maple Mac.
So that was a Freudian slip. Founders KBS Mackinac Maple Mackinac Fudge. Okay, I'm going the whole way. 99.
99. You know what? I had a feeling. I mean, when you said it's one of the best you've ever had, I'm like, well, it's got to be up there with the Bourbon County stuff then.
And I have rated several Bourbon Counties 99 as well, so it's up in the same area. I don't think I ever gave either KBS or CBS a 99. I think those were one. The KBS might have been a 97, and the CBS might have been a 98. But I'd have to look through my records to see, because maybe I did. This is not the first 99 I've ever given, because I've given Bourbon.
Oh no, a lot of the Bourbon Counties.
Counties. I've given several Bourbon Counties 99. I know you gave 100 to that blueberry one.
Yes, the Northwood Stout Edition from 2018, I believe it was.
I didn't get to try that one, but
and another one that I don't know if that was a 99 or 100, but it was close. One of the best variants I've had from them, which I don't know if you've had or not. It's the I think it was 2018. Actually, no, it was 2019. It was the Bourbon County Bramble Rye. It had raspberry and blackberry in it. And it was
I don't think I had that one.
And it was tart from the raspberries and blackberries, and it had that sour effect, but it was intentional from the type of fruit that they added. So when we were talking about the Bourbon County being spoiled early, I kind of thought about that beer. I was like, you know what? I probably would have absolutely loved it, because it probably wouldn't have been too far off from the Bramble Rye version that I had.
But it's funny, in the old days when they used to make the barley wine, I find the barley wine examples then to be much better than the wheat wines that they've had since. That's just my opinion, and I've had some of the wheat wines too.
Right.
The barley wines were much more intense, and since they weren't stouts, there was a whole different component. And the wheat wines have been okay, but they're more in the 96 kind of range to me. They're still A's, solid A's, but they're just not as good. As far as look, you're nitpicking when you're doing these beers anyway, because you're picking on things. I'll be interested to see when you do your head-to-head comparison now, because it's barrel aged versus barrel aged, and you have to decide which components you like better.
Right. So I am ready. Okay, so I'm going to start with the Moose Boots, barrel aged Moose Boots. This is the lower ABV one, 13.4, and it's whiskey barrel aged versus rum barrel aged. So maple syrup, toasted almond, vanilla. So excellent beer. The body of both of these beers are very similar, because we discussed this earlier, but I think they probably are the same base beer. One's just rum, one's barrel aged, and then the different, or whiskey, and then the different additives. So really great body on both of these. Neither one of them's cloyingly sweet. But the Moose Boots, what's really good about it is the toasted almond comes through a lot, which is a nice, pleasant surprise. The maple syrup is there, but it's not cloyingly sweet, and the vanilla's there. And then, the whiskey barrel's there, not really in your face, but it's definitely there. And then you get all the other flavors from a stout that you would expect: some chocolate, the toasted bread. It's all there. So I'm going to give this one a 96. And the reason being, because this is my least favorite of the two. It's an excellent beer, and I would highly recommend it, but personal tasting preferences, I'm going to go with the Pirate Weekend because it has that coconut, that cinnamon, the vanilla. It's got the little bit of extra sweetness and that molasses note from the rum barrel aging. It's just got a little bit more of what I like in a beer. So for this one, I'm going to go with a 97. I was very particular with these two scores because 96 and 97 are solid A beers. But world class for me is 98, 99, and 100. And that is reserved from some of the founder stuff that I've had, like the Maple Mackinac Fudge, and mostly for the Bourbon County stuff. I couldn't go 98, 99, 100 for either one of these because I don't feel like they're world class. They're solid A beers getting up there. I went as high as I could go with both of these without getting them into world-class territory. And the reason being because there's just something about mostly the Bourbon County, something about the Bourbon County specifically with the barrel aging process that just is next level. And this has a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as the Bourbon County. The discontinued CBS was one of my favorites. And then, of course, like the 2015 the aged stuff from Founders turned out really well. But it doesn't have the same depth of flavor from the barrel aging. Now, granted, these both have a lot of additives in there. So that could be part of it. Maybe it's just kind of masking some of the barrel notes. But if I got more barrel notes with both of these, I would have bumped the score up a little bit, but just not quite there on the same level as the world-class stuff that I've had from Bourbon County. So 96 for the Moose Boots and 97 for the Pirate Weekend. And I took the liberty of, for anybody that may be joining late, I got all of our beers and all of our scores on the bottom for you fine people to look at. So yeah, awesome beers, and the lowest score being your Cream Team at 95. So I would say it was a smashing success because the lowest score was a 95.
And I think, and now it is getting to room temperature, the bourbon is coming out stronger in the Mackinac Fudge. And I don't know what kind of bourbon they use when they make Founders. I mean, there are people who are more into this who know the kind of barrels they use. I know, doesn't Bourbon County use Heaven Hill barrels? Or
they use Heaven Hill, I think, for the standard variant, and then of course they have
other barrels.
A lot of barrels. Like I know they have some Old Forester barrels. They have the Elijah Craig barrel aged one. They have some of the reserve stuff that you can only get in Chicago. But yeah, I think for most of the standard variants of Bourbon County over the years, I'm pretty sure it's Heaven Hill. And for Founders, oh man, somebody was telling me.
Why don't you ask Alex the Beer Man? He's the founder expert.
Yeah, Alex might know. But yeah, I can't think of it off the top of my head. But if somebody mentioned it, I would immediately. Yep, that's it. But yeah, I mean, Heaven Hill's a pretty good standard bourbon, and I know Founders they use pretty good stuff too.
Are you aware that I do have a Bourbon County Proprietors, which is available Chicago only in my cellar, which is
that one of the ones that you got as a
yeah, that was one of the ones I got from other Jordan, whose price is
right.
Friend. And look, I can't complain because if the fact that his friend doesn't like Bourbon County or doesn't like any bourbon barrel aged stuff, I'm certainly willing to take them off his hands. I mean, he says,
I mean,
Michael,
yeah.
I know you really like this stuff. I said, because I did get to try, what was it, Brand 14 from this year, which was
Yes.
based on, I got to try
Which
that.
I did get to try that one as well.
And I thought that one was good. But I actually like the standard one better than
I do too.
Than that one.
The Brand 14 one wasn't as robust, and I feel like that was the one that they added like coconut water to it or something.
Which kind of toned it down a little bit.
It kind of yeah, it did. Well, obviously the ABV was less. It diminished the ABV a little bit, and it did water it down to an extent. It wasn't a watery beer by any stretch.
I think what was the other one that everybody did a tasting of? There was another one where there was a group tasting, and that was the other one that I had.
Well, I know some of us did the Coca-Cola variant.
I never tried. I got to try that because Doug brought it over. I did like that one.
Yeah,
Coca-Cola one.
Yeah.
Doug goes out to Long Island where he works, and they have the same kind of liquor store that they had where I got the other stuff in Georgia. And I was mentioning to you before that when I went down there, I got Terrapin. What's the 9.5% coffee stout that we've done, which Terrapin makes? You're familiar with it. It may not come.
The Wake and Bake or the
Wake and Bake. Yeah. So I did buy a 12-ounce can of that, and I brought that back up too because I like that. Remember, those were the ones that my nephew gave me, and I had.
Yeah. Now, was it the standard Wake and Bake or was it the barrel aged?
It was the standard one.
Okay, they have a barrel aged version that's really good.
One thing that was good when you did live in Georgia, though, you had access to breweries that I can't get them. I don't get Terrapin here.
Right.
I got something. Have you ever you've tried something from Destil?
Yes. It's funny though. I haven't seen any Destil stuff up here. It was in Georgia where I would see the Destil stuff.
That's where I got it, and it was a peanut butter porter, and it was good, but it wasn't great. So in other words, it was in one of these tastings I did recently. It finished in the middle. It didn't do badly. It just people didn't go crazy over it. But again, lower alcohol too. It was like 6%, which I guess But the selection in this store was good. But I decided I didn't want to get any IPAs because I can get pretty much any IPAs I want here. So I decided to go for all stouts, porters, and I got some kind of Belgian stout, which I haven't tried yet from somebody.
Allagash makes a Belgian stout, and I've had it, and I was not impressed. It just wasn't.
Some people don't like the
weird.
It probably has Belgian yeast in it. Some people
it did, and I love Belgian ales. But I just found that the Belgian yeast didn't really complement the stout flavors as much as I thought they would. Because I was thinking honestly, like the banana notes and some of the banana and the bubblegum type notes that you get from the Belgian yeast. I thought that would really complement the stout, like a banana's Foster, a banana.
Right, but it doesn't always come across. It doesn't come across.
It did not translate at all like I thought. And that was just one. That was just one Belgian stout, and that was from Allagash. I think it was called the Allagash Black, actually. I think it's just called Allagash Black, but it's a Belgian style stout. And it was good. I think I gave it like an 85, but me and my stouts, like a B stout is really not a very good rating for me because, especially for it was probably 10 or 11%. So
I still have some of the beers left. Remember when I made that deal with Tavor where I got the 15 beers and
even though they screwed you on the some of them not being porters or stouts.
Look, if it's a stout pack, how do you put in dark beers?
Right.
I'm not saying they were bad. They're Schwartz beers. They're dark beers.
Right.
Why do you stick those in? It just seemed unfair. But they did turn out to be okay. It wasn't like they were horrible. So it was all right. I still have a couple of those left. It was 15 beers. I think you still have 2 left of those. And I still have a really. I've been saving a lot of these beers, so I still have a really good selection right now. And going to be going over on Saturday to some of the people we do the beach club ones with, and you'll get some kind of thing whenever I'm done with that one. It should be interesting too.
Right.
The summer was really good because you got to see what we did, and for the most part, we did one. I don't know if you remember earlier in the summer where I think we had 9 beers. 7 of them were all double IPAs, and it was interesting because how much difference can there be between and it's weird how they were different. There was a lot of difference. So the alcohol sometimes a little bit different. Whether you had citrus or whether you had tropical, grapefruit. I mean, the different flavors you can have, and they were all Imperial too. None of them was straight. So they were at least 8%.
So they were all double IPAs.
All double IPAs, and there are people who don't like double IPAs because they find too much alcohol in them. But it was pretty amazing. And the Southern Tier 2X Haze, I think, which is one of the ones I brought, finished 2, which I thought was really good because that's never premium price. That's always.
I'm excited to, when we, whether I send you another beer mail package or when we meet up, which is going to happen soon, we'll have to plan that out. But I'm going to, I feel like some of the juicy IPAs available because we have Treehouse, we have Trillium, we have Burlington Beer Company, which is actually not even it's not Burlington, Mass. It's Burlington. I think it's Vermont. But and so you actually may be able to get Burlington Beer Company. I'm not sure. You got to look and see. They have incredible juicy IPA and double IPAs, juicy double IPAs. I just feel like a lot of people, like even in Georgia, I had some that were similar, but it's like next level up here in Massachusetts, New Hampshire. These juicy IPAs are just out of this world. I mean, you pour it in a glass and it looks like orange juice with a head.
It's like Juice City.
It's insane. Like even the Southern Tier 2 times juicy that you're talking about, it doesn't have that appearance. It doesn't have that super. I mean, it does have some juiciness to it, but it's just not the same until.
No.
Have you had Treehouse before?
I've had Treehouse Green.
So what did you think of that?
I thought it was terrific.
Yeah. So
but I've also had the other half stuff. The other half stuff from here is amazing too.
So see, other
half stuff.
I have had one. I think I've had like one IPA from them was really, really good, but I don't get a ton of their stuff. There's a place in Concord, Mass that I go to that sells 2 or 3. They have like a rotating stock of different other half stuff, but directly in my immediate area, I can't find it. So
well, it's almost like other half has this market pretty much locked up, and people will come down here to trade with people in Massachusetts for the Treehouse and the Trillium. So they'll trade the other half for Treehouse and Trillium. I have never had one from Trillium.
Really? Okay.
I've seen Eric review them. I've seen Bumpy review them. I've never had a Trillium.
So you'll definitely have to try some Trillium. I'll definitely have to share some Trillium with you. One thing really quick about Treehouse that's exciting. So Treehouse is Canton, Mass, which is probably it's a good hour plus drive. I've only been there once since I moved up here. But they're opening a new location in Tewksbury, which is about 15 minutes away.
Oh, what? So is that going to open soon?
It's opening up in November, I think.
That's great. So then you can go anytime you want.
I'm going to be able to get Treehouse beers a lot more often because it's going to be right down the road. And they don't distribute at all, so you have to go to the brewery to get beers. They have an app, and you can go online and you can order as much beer as you want, and then you drive up and you pick it up. But they do not distribute, so I'm very excited about that because I love the Treehouse IPAs, and it'll be really nice to be able to get them on a more regular basis because I won't have to drive an hour and a half to get them.
I have a close friend, and I probably sent you something for his beer group. His name is Bill. And in his group, there's a woman who I think she lives in Massachusetts, but she comes up here a lot. And what she does is she goes with a suitcase, and she'll go to Treehouse or Trillium, and then she'll fill the suitcase and take it in her car and bring it back, and people tell her what they want, and she brings it back, and they have other half waiting for her to take back when she comes. So they trade everything off, and it just shows you where craft beer is now at that top end with those IPAs. Theirs is different from the other ones that, like the 2X haze. Hazy IPAs are fine, but they're just hazy IPAs. The other ones are another level up because there's something in the process they're doing that's different. I don't know.
Double and tripled. I think a lot of it has to do with like dry hopping, which I'm not a brewer and I don't know a lot about these different processes, but you hear or you look at the labels, double dry hop, triple dry hop. So when you dry hop a beer, you get a lot of the juicy, the flavors, right, without the bitterness. Because if you were to just put hops in the boil, a lot of hops like that, it would become at a certain point extremely bitter. But by dry hopping it gets the hops in there long enough to where you get all the flavor without all the bitterness. Because otherwise you'd be drinking palate wreckers all the time because there's just a ridiculous amount of hops that go into all these juicy IPAs. It's all about like the amount of time, I guess, that they keep them in there just long enough so that you can extract the flavor from
them.
Right.
And I think there's something also on the final boil. In a lot of cases, if you want to have that extra effect, you don't add in the final boil. You just let it boil out, and that maintains the juiciness. Where if you're trying to make a palate wrecker or a resin, whatever, you'd be intensifying it in the final boil and throwing extra hop pellets in at the end. They probably don't throw anything in at the end. It's probably ready, and it's done. 6 Point supposedly is opening up, and they could have done it already because we haven't gone to check it out, in downtown Brooklyn, a brew pub kind of thing where you'd be able to come and drink their beers on tap because as far as I know, they don't do anything at the brewery level anymore.
Okay. I'd like to try. It's funny. In Georgia, near the end there, before I moved up here, I started getting a lot of 6 Point. I had the Meltdown, the Mind Control, the anti-resin. I started seeing I pretty much started seeing everything other than the Master Blend stuff. I don't see any 6 Point stuff here. So, I'm closer. I don't get it.
You know what it comes down to? They probably don't want to compete in your market. In other words, it's available in Georgia, Florida. Obviously, it's available here because this is where Brooklyn is where they started.
Right.
I know you can get it in Maryland and Virginia and further. You can ask Josh. I bet you Josh can get stuff if he wants. But why would he buy 6 Point stuff if he can buy other half? Because there's another half in Washington, D.C., which he can get. You have to try more other half stuff because their stuff is as good as the Trillium and the Treehouse. It's really the same.
Okay, yeah.
It's really good.
Well, the one I do remember the couple of IPAs that I did have from other half were really outstanding. So they're definitely up there. I know.
The people who travel in the same circle with this guy Bill, he's a bicycle rider, and what he'll do is he'll ride on his bicycle, go to these places, and you can get 5 different beers in like a sampler thing. You have.
Wait, Bill from.
It's a Bill you've seen.
The one in Pennsylvania,
no? This is Bill who's in Brooklyn with me. But
in Brooklyn. Oh, who's the one in? Oh, Ian. I'm thinking of Ian.
I think of Ian. I still keep in touch
because Ian's got the bike behind him in the back.
He does, and he drives these really small, like sporty cars too. He's a good guy too. And I sent you a picture of all the stuff he
of
had.
his beer stock. Yeah, I think you posted it in
He had a terrific collection of stuff. I mean, he's got now. Obviously, he's not as he doesn't have as many beers as Sean. As Shane.
Oh, Shane Fudge, yeah.
Shane Fudge. But Shane Fudge is just off the wall to collect. I mean, it's intense. Also, Jay's friend has a terrific museum collection too. The guy you met in Louisiana. I'm drawing a blank. Who's Mark A?
So Mark A is from Canada. He's in the chat. So he also says he cracked a beer from Layback, called Layback from Wellington Brewery, which is in Canada. So delicious, but it's Canadian beer. So how good could it possibly be, right? I'm just kidding. Mark A is a good guy. We hang out with him sometimes on the off-air streams, and He's a good guy, but he is Canadian, so
You know how it goes.
yeah, whatever.
We could say, hey.
Hey. All right. Let's see. So
That's what I'm down to.
I'm actually drinking this one down faster. I think it's because I know I like this one more, so I want to save it.
So you're savoring the other one.
I
already decided. I already finished this one.
Okay. We're going on an hour. Do you want to go ahead and close up the live portion of the show so we don't go
Okay,
on?
that's fine. We can keep talking for a little bit past.
Okay.
That's fine. It's been a lot of fun getting back together with you.
Absolutely. I want to thank Michael Kormanoff, of course, for coming back and hanging out with me. And we'll be seeing a lot more of Michael now that the Beach Club events are done for the season. I want to thank everybody in the chat. We had Joey, Square Table Degenerates, join us a little late. And yes, I am alive. Drunken Ones in the chat as well. We had Mark A. We had Josh, Eric, Bumpy, Sam Smalley. Man, a lot of people in the chat. We really appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. Left some great comments. And we'll go ahead and end it here. Some awesome beers. Nothing quite world-class, so the highest rating being a 97 tonight. So the world-class stuff is still reserved for the Bourbon County and the Founder stuff, it seems like. But maybe next time we'll have some world-class stuff for you. I'm sure we'll be doing some more of this soon. So that's it.
Cheers, everybody.
A great evening, and we'll see you right here all on the next live examination. Until then, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.